Live from all over this beautiful land, this is the Testosterone Zone with the fine men, Noel, Keith, and Steve. Take it, boys!
You're ready. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Testosterone Zone podcast. This is Steve coming at you with episode 52. We're still with our buddy Billy, who you just heard us talk earlier of episode 51 regarding baseball season and his organization called the Tech Hecklers. And we had a good time. But what we'd like to do now is really leverage Billy's other expertise as a university employee at Texas Tech and share some of his experiences with admissions and hopefully help guide those of you that have college students in the near future or kids that are going to be college students in the near future. Hopefully you can learn a little bit from what Billy has to share with us. Keith, do you want to introduce that a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. You know, last week, Noel talked a little bit about the campus visit that he had with his daughter, and a perfect segue for visiting with Billy this week, talking a little bit about what his opinion is from a college viewpoint. So we saw kind of a parent's viewpoint on what they're looking at for colleges. So now we thought we would turn it around and let Billy tell us a little bit about his viewpoint as a former admissions person and currently now helping with recruitment at College of Human Sciences, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So I just want to turn it over to you and I'd love to listen to your idea of what is the best practice that parents and students should start doing in preparation for the college experience.
Right. Well, thanks again for having me, guys. The last episode was a blast, and love the podcast, and wish you all the best of luck and now and in the future.
You're part of the family now, bro.
That's right.
Appreciate that. I think, Noel, from what you were saying last week, I was listening to it before we met up tonight, but you had a lot of good points about the research as far as looking at option, obviously, and you mentioned the tech angle for you all having been, I think both you and your wife went here and having that angle. And so, but I think the research these days, one of the things that, you all remember, if you do remember our process going through picking a college and visiting a college, that was all done by paper or maybe a phone call, if I'm not mistaken, right? You got a letter in the mail or you called somebody, there was no internet. But I think now that with technology and social media, there's so many more tools for students and parents. And not to say we didn't know what we were doing or our parents didn't know what they were doing, but I think that students and parents now are just way more savvy about this process. Mm-hmm. They don't, not that they don't believe what people say, but they want to see and find out for themselves too. And so they do their research, they do their visits, and they also plug in to what universities are doing online because, and I think in turn, universities, colleges are responding to that in kind. Texas Tech has, Snapchat accounts for admissions, for housing, I think, for different groups on campus, because that's what students want to see, right? That's what they're following. That's what they're engaging in. And so, Instagram, even Facebook, even though a lot of folks think Facebook is more for, I guess our generation, the older generation or whatnot. But I think that the people today, both, and it's not just students. I think parents have that same mindset that, hey, we're going to do our research here. We're gonna, find, we're not going to take just the face value of what somebody says. We want to experience a little bit of that before, my son or daughter and I commit to your college or university.
Makes sense. Isn't that the way with everything anymore?
Yeah.
Whether you go to the doctor, anything, people want to have more research than they probably even need.
Restaurant,
But when it comes to, and Noel, you alluded to this in that episode 50, that you definitely thought when I said what were some things that you think you should do, you always said go, and I think that's so important.
Right.
Even when I remember, again, talking back in the days of black and white, okay, not quite that long ago, but when I was doing my own college searches, and I won't name names because I still think they're great institutions, but I was from a larger school. one of the largest graduating classes in the state. I think it was the second largest in the state the year I graduated. And I was so excited about going to one of these. I was almost dead set on going to this. It was still a university, but it was a smaller university, a private school.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to the campus, and I was fired up just from what I'd seen in, it was catalogs that they sent to us at the time. And, then I walked on the campus,
Mm-hmm.
and it was smaller than my high school. And I didn't want that.
Right.
I wanted to have something bigger, that was just me. Everybody's different. And I was it was shocking to me to think that in my mind, this school was so much bigger from the pictures that I saw than what I was really seeing and against what I was hoping for. So I think you're right. I think, the visit is so important.
Right.
Definitely.
Right. Well, and I mean, and that's something that still happens today, that's still the prime, more and more people are just making those visits because they want to see it for themselves before they make any kind of decision.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What were you saying, Noel? Sorry.
No, I remember the catalogs that my guidance counselor had a whole bunch of those. I remember whipping out the old catalog and taking a look at all the different pictures and stuff like that. That was the way this used to be done back in the old days.
Back in my day.
And so it's definitely changed. And as far as research, I mean, I think just the internet and social media especially has really provided so many, outlets for feedback and for reviews. I mean, if you think about even like when we pick a restaurant to go eat at, I mean, you can read, thousands of reviews for, some restaurants, and some good, some bad, and, pictures of the food and the menus and I mean, all kinds of stuff. I mean, that's just the world we live in. So
yeah, is there such thing as a Yelpiversity? I don't know.
I bet there is. I bet there probably is, but I could tell a difference. I mean, there's a vast difference in, when I went and visited the campus. I mean, it was that visit was very different from our experience with my daughter.
Right.
And I mean, just the school itself has got the dining options around campus. I was shocked at that. Like there's a place to eat in nearly every building, if not every building, where you can grab something quick to eat and stuff, which is great. But I got to think that there's probably, I bet if I on our next school visit, which we have one this coming weekend, I can almost guarantee I'm going to see something similar at this school, because that's just what schools are doing these days. So they all have to adapt, but it's pretty interesting. I'm going at this from a parent's perspective. It's a very different thing than when you're a potential student. So,
well, and from being on the university or college perspective, Noel, I think the thing that is also different now than it was from probably when we were going, and maybe even just 10, 15 years ago, is we're trying to sell the university all the way until the first day of class, if not beyond the first day of class, if that makes sense. We get students that come to orientation in the summer, and a while back you kind of think, okay, they're coming to orientation, they're already paying for housing deposits or signing up for classes. They're committed, they're sold, they're going to be here, and that's not always the case anymore. We've had students that come to orientation and didn't like what they saw. I mean, for whatever reason, not anybody's fault or anything, and they changed their mind. And so it's definitely, I mean, that's something that I see when I work with people across campus. I'm good friends with the orientation folks today, and that's what they preach, is like, hey, you know what? We're still recruiting these students. They've already paid to come and they're going to sign up for classes today, but they could very well change their mind in August once they have spent more time at home and have thought about it some more. It's not even a done deal at that point. You still have to keep, making sure that they have a good experience going into that first day of class or whenever they move into their residence hall.
Yeah, that's having never worked for university. I've never had that perspective. I mean, but I can see where that, certainly with this generation, I can see where that's probably something to have to keep up with, because again, with the number of options and stuff that are out there, and just the competition for students, you got to stay ahead of the game. So it's interesting.
Let's turn that to gear also. Now you've had some history in the area of financial aid too.
Right.
So that, tell us a little bit about that and how that can also help influence somebody to a campus. I know there's
Sure.
big national scholarship opportunities,
Right.
financial aid, Pell Grants, the like, Stafford loans, but obviously, in addition to that, there are somewhat that are specific to
Right.
universities. And so,
Right.
what's the best way for people to find those low hanging fruits, maybe
Sure. Sure.
to focus on when they're looking at certain universities?
Right. Well, I think that the important thing is, what even if you're like with your daughter Noel, I think you mentioned she's considering 4 schools if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Um, and so, I think with that number, or if a student's kind of narrowed it down to a handful or a couple, or even if they narrow it down to one, it's to talk to the school about the options financially, because a lot of folks, don't know about that, or don't know about the price or whatnot until they get to campus, and sometimes they're in for they just don't know, and it's not because they didn't do their
Hmm.
research, they just didn't know that piece of it, for example. And so a lot of times, I've talked to people at events, and they're just like, whoa, it costs that much. And so I think it's important to
Yeah.
have those conversations early, because sometimes there's different opportunities. I mean, there's going to be a lot of the same opportunities, like you've already mentioned, Keith, with the Pell Grants, the federal student loans, some national type scholarships that we know of, like the merit scholarships and things of that nature through their test scores. Um, but there's a lot of opportunities within schools themselves, even within programs themselves, and so it's definitely worth having those conversations with, let's say, Noel, if your daughter was interested in engineering, talk to that school's college of engineering, because they may have something in house that is geared for just their students, that they're not going to
Hmm.
always put that out to the whole university, because it's just for their engineering students, right? And so it's just something for that smaller group. And so to me, it's worth asking those questions. I think with scholarships, when you talk about scholarships, um, one thing that people are learning more and more about, and are being more knowledgeable about, as they help for parents, as they help their students through the college experience, or the search process for college, um, is there's not too many out there anymore that are one big scholarship that covers everything. The full rides that we always dream of having. That's not there anymore. I mean,
Hmm.
I always joke when I used to present for financial aid. I always joke with people that, I mean, unless you were a Division 1 prospect, which for me ended in the 8th grade. you know,
Yeah.
there's
Right.
there's it's not that anymore. It's I see students that piece their scholarship package from different sources. Maybe they get something
Hmm.
from Texas Tech, from the College of Engineering. Um, and then from their hometown, maybe they were involved in all these activities back in their hometown, and they were, they were awarded scholarship money for that. And so it's those
Hmm.
students that kind of are asking the questions, and not just of one person. They're asking their university, their college, their high school counselor, as far as options and opportunities, because there's a bunch out there that students just don't know about, that they could be eligible for. A lot of students
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, um, I don't want to say they don't want to apply, but sometimes we kind of get it ingrained in our head that, okay, the scholarship money goes to the ones with the highest test score, right, or the
Right.
highest class rank in their high school class. And there's definitely some truth to that, but it's not the only way to get scholarship money.
Right.
And my experience in financial aid taught me that there's tons of opportunities out there, um, to get scholarship money. I read about a scholarship by duct tape, or by, yeah, it was by the makers of duct tape. It was called the Stuck at Prom Scholarship, and basically what it was a competition to design your outfit and your date's outfit for prom, all out of duct tape.
Wow.
And if I'm not mistaken, the winner, or the winning couple, got to split $10,000 in scholarship money.
Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh.
gosh.
And there was really no excuse not to do it if you were talented enough to do it, because if you didn't have a date, they had a singles division, $5,000. and
Oh my
so
gosh.
and
That's
so
hilarious.
it was something that I thought it was remarkable that there was this opportunity, and and I didn't read all the fine print, but I didn't see anything on test scores and class ranking.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not downplaying that, because obviously that's important. So, counselors out there, please don't think that I'm telling your students you don't need to worry about your grades and test scores. That's not what it is at all. My philosophy, and just from my time working in financial aid and helping students with money, is that, I think that students are more than just their test score and class rank. And I think students and parents would agree with that. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities out there that are not just, obviously the scores are important, and we focus on that, and that's something that's always going to be a part of the process. But I tell students that, just because you didn't have the highest SAT score in your class doesn't mean that you're effectively, blocked from getting scholarship money.
Right.
I see a lot of students that don't get money their first year at Tech because they didn't have, they didn't get awarded through the process for whatever reason, not because they weren't a good student or anything. And then when they reapply again for their second or third year, they've done so many good things at Tech that then they get their scholarship later.
Yeah, doesn't have to be the first year, right? Yeah,
right, exactly. That they've proven themselves in that second or third year, and they're able to get the money that they need because they kept at it. They kept asking. I've had students that would come to me every couple of months and just ask about opportunities for scholarships. And as I got to know them, I found out that they weren't just asking to ask. For them, it was get this money or leave Texas Tech. And
Right.
so they made it kind of a mission that, hey, you know what, I got to do this. I got to put myself out there and ask, because if I don't get this money, right now we don't have the support to be able to keep me in college if we don't do that. And so to me, that was something that I was like, you know what, that you're taking care of your business. I mean, I'm going to help you with what I can, and I hope that it works out, because like you're showing a lot of drive that if you don't get this, it's not like you miss a semester. You're done. You're not coming back to college, and you may never come back. And so I saw that importance and that urgency for a lot of these students. And so the opportunities are definitely there. I think it's a lot of is up to the student. I know, when I talk to students, I've never heard anybody that was excited about doing scholarship applications on a Friday night. Right. Never going to be that number one thing you want to do on a Friday night. And so, but to me, it's so crucial that you put yourself out there and apply. And I always tell students, I mean, I try to spin it in a positive way. Even if you get told no, which will happen a lot in this process, you're not any worse off financially if you get told no than you were
exactly.
Than you were before, right? And so, I have a story. It's about Chris Need, who we talked about in the last episode with the hecklers, and he has a daughter that's at Tech, and I used to get opportunities by email. So I sent him a couple of things by email, and Kaylee, the daughter, her mom noticed there was a scholarship for Purple Heart recipients, or for descendants or lineal family of Purple Heart recipients. Well, I didn't know this, but Chris's dad in El Paso was a 2-time recipient, I think, from his tour in Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
And so Kaylee's mom, Chris's wife, Sue, saw this and, was like, hey, Billy, I saw this scholarship. And it was January of Kaylee's senior year in high school. And so I was like, oh yeah, I didn't know that, that again, his dad had got that distinction in his military service, which is obviously awesome in itself, because he obviously has a lot of perspective on all of that. And so, but the problem was, this was in January. The scholarship I remember, because we had lunch close to MLK, and the scholarship was due, like, I think a day or two after the MLK, that Monday that we get off for Martin Luther King.
Okay.
And so the problem was that the scholarship had to be, the materials had to be mailed to their Virginia office. They wouldn't take it by fax. They wouldn't take it by email. And so it had to be original documents in their office within probably 48 hours of the Sneed's family finding out about the scholarship. And so, we had lunch. We were having lunch, and her mom left, and they basically went home and put together a scholarship packet. Luckily, Kaylee, the daughter, had some stuff prepared. She had one of the requirements was an essay about her grandfather, which she happened to have an essay from, I think, a previous project, and she had to tweak it and change it. but they were able to get it, and they were at FedEx at the Lubbock airport at 8 o'clock that night. They had lunch with me at noon that day, so 8 hours later they were at the airport mailing off this packet to the scholarship. And she didn't get it that year, but she got it the next year because they kept at it. And so
That's awesome.
that to me, that was a great story of perseverance, because I mean, most students, understandably so, would be like, I can't put that together in 8 hours. I don't have time for that. I have other things going on. But they did it, and they got it in. They got their foot in the door with it, and they were rewarded for it the next time they applied. And so it's that kind of persistence is what I always try and tell students, because you're going to get told no, you're not going to qualify for everything, and it's not because you're not a good student. It's because there's a lot of different students applying for these different opportunities out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm part of the local Lions Club, and they've got a scholarship too. And
right,
and it's yes, class rank and those things are important, but they are looking for things like extracurricular activities, involvement in community.
right,
all of those things are equally rated.
Right.
So you don't have to be the valedictorian to be eligible. So
right, right,
like you say, if you look hard enough, it's out there. It's just you've got to look.
right, right. Well,
that's good advice.
And I think sometimes and I don't think it's anybody's fault. It's just the way we work with the college search process. There's a big spotlight on your scores in class rank, and we all know, and we probably did it when we were seniors in high school. You compare, right? You talk about, hey, I got this, I got that, and so I think a lot of it is students saying, okay, well, I'm not going to do that because of this. And so I always tell them, don't do that. I mean, to me, your score is important, but it's not the end all be all of the process. And so again, the worst they can tell you is no. And you're not any worse off if they do that.
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. Like you say, you're no more poor,
right?
If you don't make it, but what
right.
if you did?
Right.
It's kind of like you tell somebody, I don't know if it was my dad who told me, if you ask 10 girls to dance with you and one of them says yes, you know what? You got to dance. You got to date to the dance. So, keep going for it. Keep trying. And that's so important when you're, needing to get the financial aid, because college isn't getting cheaper.
Right.
That's for sure.
Amen.
And so it's a good, firsthand right now. No looking at those.
Kidding. No kidding.
I think I heard that cha-ching come from Houston.
Oh my gosh, man, it's bad.
Yeah,
it is bad. And yeah, we're looking at 4 schools, and and maybe it's just my anxiety, but I'm just so afraid she's going to pick the most expensive one. But and if it happens, it happens. We'll just work our way through it. But no,
my daughter's she's looking at Stanford right now. I was like, okay. And I'm looking at the prices, and they have, it's like the menu at the thing where you're trying to pick the restaurant at Disney World that has the cheap, the fewest dollar signs, this one has all 5. So it's like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Girl.
Yeah.
It's all good.
It's crazy. But I mean, I will say that tech is it's one of it's of the 4 that she's looking at, it is one of the most competitively priced of all that we're looking at. So that's a good thing. I like to see that. From a parent's perspective, I mean, it's a really good thing to be to go to a school that's that size, and of course I'm very biased, but to go to a school like Tech that's got all the different degree programs that it offers, I mean, everything's all right there in one campus. And then with the medical center, you have the really benefit of two two campuses in one city, and I mean you can stay there and get your doctorate. I mean,
Right.
it's a great school, but all that 38,000 students, and Big 12 sports, yada yada yada, and it's still priced right and very
Right.
very competitively. So I like that.
Well, and I think you mentioned medical. I think the other some other things that aren't necessarily financial, but can also help on the financial impact of things is that obviously students aren't going to know 100% what they want to do,
Mhm.
but I think it's never too early to start exploring what they do want to do,
Mhm.
if that makes sense, and
Mhm.
before you even get to college. And so that's something I didn't do that I wish I'd done more when I was in high school, was explore, hey, what do you want to do when you get done? What is your end goal? I mean,
Yeah.
tech can help you get there, and we have all these great programs, But what if on the off chance we don't have what a student is looking for?
Right.
They may not be a good fit. Medical is an example. We get a lot of students that want to be doctors or want to be nurses, and that's great. Um, and sometimes when we talk to them some more, it's like, well, hey, how did you get to this decision? Is it you? Is it family? Is it your expectation
Mhm.
of money,
Right.
or
Mhm.
something like that? And then I talk to students who are like, who have life stories that basically shine a light on why they want to do this. I had a family
Mhm.
member who was sick with cancer, and so their nurse and doctor were tremendous in helping them recover.
Mhm.
And so that made an impact on the student when she was 9 years old, for example.
Mhm.
And so that's why she wants to be a nurse now. And so she has that perspective because she experienced something with the profession she was interested in, even at a young age, maybe, and was able to kind of carry that, to her high school and then into her college process and say, hey, I want to be a nurse. Um, and so
Mhm.
I think, again, we don't expect students to know for sure when they walk in the door what they want to be. But I think it's good to have some thoughts and conversations about it. Whether with parents, other family members, high school counselors, just to kind of help, because if you know a little bit about it, okay, maybe your first year, okay, I'm going to change out of that. Like when I went to
Right.
tech, I wanted to be
Mhm.
a physical therapist. I had no idea what they did. And then I got my not so good grade in chemistry, and I was like, okay, well, that's not for me. And so, but that's just something that I think students need to maybe talk about earlier,
Yeah.
perhaps. And there are some that know exactly from day one that they're going to be an accountant, and they and
Mhm.
they zone in on that from when they walk in the door, and that's what they always are when they
Yeah.
leave, and that's great. But
Yeah.
not every
Yeah.
student's going to be like that, and some of them are going to have to kind of do some soul searching and exploring to get to where they need to go.
Yeah.
Shoot, I still don't know what I want to be when I
Yeah.
grow up.
Man, so true.
Yeah, my daughter is taking physics right now. She's a junior and she's taking physics, and she knows that she doesn't want to do anything that involves physics or requires physics, or
Right.
so like we
Right.
were looking at the degree programs and the curriculum for different different degrees, and any of them that had physics
Thanks.
automatically got crossed out. Like, we're not doing that.
Right.
So,
Well, and to me, I think that's great. I think it's great for her to figure that out
mhm.
now. That,
Yeah,
hey, that's not something
Yeah.
that I want even
Right.
want to come close to.
yeah,
When I'm in college.
yeah.
I mean, when I work with admissions, we would review applications, obviously for students to get admitted to tech. And one of the criteria that always stuck out to me was, again, the test scores are always going to be there to consider, but we also looked at the transcript of a student. We know that there's a set number of classes to graduate from high school. There's like a bare minimum, right? You get these
Mhm.
classes, you've met the requirements by the district, by the state, and you can graduate senior year. Well, there's still another year sometimes after that our students are still in school, and sometimes you would see just like the English for the government class, and then that's it on their transcript
Yeah.
for senior year. And then you'll see students that load up on different classes on an additional science and additional math. Those are
Mhm.
the ones that stood out in the process for admissions, because yeah, they may not have had the best score, but they were willing to put themselves out there and take an extra class that, yeah, you didn't need that extra chemistry class or the biology too, but you wanted to, take a look at it to see if it's something that you were interested in, or just get more experience with it. And that's something that to me was, it showed a lot about that student, even more than their test score.
Right. Right.
I'm blown away with how many
Yeah.
students in high school are taking either dual credit or college
Right.
credit courses now compared to when I was going through. It just seems like that's a
Right.
common
Yeah.
thing to be
Definitely.
almost a year ahead by the time you
Right.
graduate high school.
It
Yeah.
totally is, man. It totally is.
Right. Well, and I think it's great too. It's a great savings for students, and then
Yeah.
ultimately parents. It's a great way to get ahead as far as the cost, as far as knocking out some of those core curriculum, those basic classes, and hopefully, I mean, especially the students that are going on to some kind of um, up. Whether it's a terminal degree or a master's degree, I mean, saving that first year or getting rid of that first year through dual credit, I mean, that makes it easier for saving money and having money later to take care of those other
Mhm.
things.
That's true. I'm just looking at it from my perspective going, man, I didn't want one last year in college.
Yeah.
I
I
wanted
know,
more.
I know.
Dad wasn't happy about that,
Yeah.
but I enjoyed it through.
Right. No,
No doubt.
that's why I'm still there 20 years later.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, you've got one of the best jobs in the world, man.
I really do.
I really love the campus life. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it is.
It
It
is.
is.
I think you have a fascinating job, Billy. I really do. And jealous, definitely. I was up there, and I mean, just walking the campus and the food and just the atmosphere and stuff there. It's I mean, it's a bunch of years after I graduated from
Right.
there, but it still feels the same.
Right.
It's still my
Still home,
yeah,
right?
it's still home. And it was so cool too to walk around the campus and see hey, there's this our tour guide was like, yeah, they're doing construction over here. This is it's a $75 million project, and this is a $25 million project. That's a $95 million project. I'm like, my gosh, man, they are sinking some money in this place, and they're like the music building and stuff. That's a $115 million project that's coming up.
That's
so
wild.
I mean, it's just it's exciting, and it's good to see that it's being there's money that's being put into it, and it's still going strong. Same old library, man.
The old radiator.
The old radiator. Like every building on campus has received an upgrade, but the library is the library.
There.
They did get a Sam's place in there now, so
yeah, they did.
There we go.
You can get food in the library. I was like, wait a second, man.
That's awesome.
That is so cool.
That might have actually made me want to go.
Yeah.
So they're actually building a new music building now.
Yeah, I saw
Wow.
I saw Bearden when I was there, and he said that's what they're. I don't know if it's confirmed or if it's in the works or what, but that's what he told me. So
that's awesome.
Wow, way overdue.
Very cool. Yeah, long overdue. Definitely deserved.
It is.
So, Billy, in summary, 3 things that you would say as a parent or a student, potential student listening to this podcast, what are the 3 things that you think would be most important to do first when they're starting their college search?
I think I would say that the 3 things are really talk to your school that you're in, or schools. I mean, like in Noel's daughter's case, the schools that she's interested in. Talk to the schools. We are more than happy to answer questions, give you information. Sometimes that doesn't happen with just an initial quick visit. You may have to follow up. You think about stuff when you go home all the time, and follow up. Don't be afraid to follow up. That's what we get paid to do, is give you the information that you need. So ask those questions. I mean, even if you think they're kind of tough questions that really maybe not, it may take some time to answer it maybe, but ask those questions, because if you or your son or daughter don't feel comfortable with with something, an aspect of a school or a program, you need to find out, because that's something that's going to be your son or daughter is going to be engaged in that program for 4 or 5 years. And then I think with what Noel said last week, do the research as far as websites, social media, and then I think the research kind of extends to not just looking up stuff online or whatnot, but I think when you visit the campus, talk to the current students there. That they're the ones that can speak to the experience.
That's for sure.
I have an ambassador group in human sciences, and I try to have them with me whenever I can. Because face it, my last classroom experience at Tech was 14 years ago. Last undergrad was like 20 years ago. That's irrelevant, guys.
Little change, right? Yeah.
They don't know. That doesn't really resonate with students now. I'm 20 years out from being in a classroom. Yeah. And so talk to the students. I've seen parents at our events that engage my students more so than they engage me. I don't take that the wrong way. To me, that's great. If you're talking to my students, they're the ones that'll tell you, and they may sugarcoat it a little bit because they work for me, but they'll tell you how it is. And they'll give you some good hard some experience that they've had that could be beneficial to learn about. As far as that process goes. And so I would say talk to students. That would be another item that I would do. And then,
Awesome.
and I would say take no, don't take no for an answer. A lot of universities out there or colleges have alternate ways to get admitted. Like for example, at Tech, if you don't get in right away, you can get admitted by completing hours at a community college. And so we don't want the door to be closed to us, to any student. I mean, there's an opportunity for you to get there. It may not be the traditional way that everybody knows about, but there's ways that a lot of schools have, and they may not be the same across the board, but there's a way to get where you want to go. And so don't take no for an answer. Same thing with the money. I know I've talked about that a little bit, but ask those questions, because sometimes there's opportunities out there that maybe even the university representative doesn't quite know about right there, because it may take them getting back to their office. Oh yeah, Keith's son fits this scholarship, so I got to go email Keith now, because now there's something else. So don't take no for an answer.
Fair enough, man. Well, listen, I appreciate every bit of information that you've given us, man. I really do. And I know that I'm not too far behind Noel here with our search coming up. So
hey, man,
I'm taking some notes.
We'll be here before you know it.
Man, oh, I know. We're already talking about going looking this summer to begin. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I remember I was driving to work today and thinking about all the times that people with older kids told us when we had babies and young kids that to cherish the time because it goes by fast. And I remember going, I got it. But man, good Lord, it's so true.
Before long with you, Billy, you're gonna blink. Be careful. Blink slowly.
I know. Yeah, no kidding, man. It goes fast.
For sure. We're talking about different courses and different majors that you can have, so I just want you to know that geology.
Here we go.
You guys, I'm supposed to start laughing. Hang on. We're not.
Okay, sorry.
Geology rocks, but geography is where it's at.
I'm
trying to keep a straight pace. I'm hearing Steve in the background. I can't do it.
Oh man, it's classic.
Hey, you know what goes ooh?
No.
A cow with no lips.
That's great.
We hadn't told that one before.
No, we have not.
Thank you.
So, hey, any idea what a pirate's favorite letter is?
No,
nothing.
All I can think of is R.
Yeah, I mean, you would think it's R, but it's actually C.
C.
C. Like they like the C. Get it?
Oh.
I'm sorry, Steve. I thought you were still finishing.
That's what she said.
Oh.
Hi-yo.
Hey. Oh man.
Oh, sorry.
So looking to buy a pair of shoes, but I don't think I'll buy anything with Velcro because it's a total ripoff.
Nice one, Billy.
Good delivery too.
That was a good one.
That was good. Oh man.
You have one more, Noel. I know you do. I heard it. I heard the
I had. This kind of goes along with your one from episode 51, but last night I had 4 cans of alphabet soup. Yeah, and this morning I'm having a huge vowel movement.
That's a good follow-up. Oh my gosh. Oh man. Well, guys, this was great. Billy, thank you so much for being patient and sharing 2 episodes worth of material with us. So
yeah, thank you, Billy.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me, guys.
I know I learned a lot today too. Yeah. Appreciate it, and hopefully you can come on some more. We'd love to follow up with you and kind of give you a status. We'll give you a status on how Noel's progress is going too.
Sounds good.
He may have more questions from you after the next couple of campus visits for sure.
But definitely.
But sincerely, we appreciate you, Billy, and thank you not only for being a listener, but for now being a part of the group and part of the family here. So
thank you.
And
appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. We appreciate you. Like I said, I've been looking forward to this for a while. So thank you so much for taking the time with us.
You're very welcome.
Please give your family my best.
We'll do.
Okay, and we'll talk to everybody on episode 53. Thanks,
Take
everyone.
Care.
Thanks, guys.
That was my chair.
Hey, thanks again for listening to the Testosterone Zone. We sure had a blast visiting with you. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe, leave us some feedback, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. All Testosterone Zone podcast episodes are written and produced by Noel, Keith, and Steve unless otherwise noted. The opinions expressed in the Testosterone Zone podcast are our own and not those of our employers, families, parents, kids, dogs, cats, your mom, or any other entity Noel, Keith, or Steve are affiliated with now, in the past, or in the future, or ever.